Welcome to Empowerment Radio. My name is Dr. Friedemann, and I'm so glad that you decided to join me. Empowerment Radio is about giving you the insights, tools, and solutions to address some of the most challenging aspects of our daily lives. So sit back, relax, and empower yourself. And there was a question on Facebook Live. You can watch a show on Facebook Live as well, which is by Arch, who said, surrender isn't to be confused with passive, giving up or giving in, correct? Yes, absolutely. It is really, in fact, the opposite. I feel often that surrendering is giving us more clarity and giving us more a sense of purpose because, and this is the second benefit or the second step to surrendering, because we're taking a break. And we're taking a break to make maybe a course correction, to just check inside and see, am I still on the right track? Is it still really what I want? But taking a break also gives you an opportunity to replenish yourself, because I know it personally how many times I didn't surrender and I was running myself ragged. And I certainly became, more a drained version of myself than a really, full version of myself. And I also feel like it takes more courage and wisdom to surrender. And as we just talked about, to be able to accept what is and then make that course correction afterwards. Than just to hit the head against the wall and hoping that those barriers at some point will break. And they may not. And maybe what you're going to find behind the wall is not really what you were looking for in the first place. Now, the other aspect of surrendering, which is so powerful, is the detachment and the recentering. Like when you think about the current situation that you're in, and you may be really attached to certain things. For example, I do these every other Saturday, these COVID and COVID anxiety calls on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. And one of the questions that comes up often is how to deal with the lack of social connection or the lack of touch, the lack of meeting your friends and so on. And that detachment from what we really are maybe craving or what we are used to, and being more in a place where you're saying, okay, so if I cannot have this right now, what is it that I can have right now within those situations that I'm in? That form of recentering can be also very empowering. I have, very often clients that are struggling with relationships. One client is really in a difficult and sometimes abusive relationship, but he is so attached to this relationship. He has such a strong feeling of, this is the one, this is the person that I want to hold on to. And if I really detach from this goal to make this person my spouse, I have wasted a lot of time, a lot of energy, and I cannot accept the defeat. So there is this attachment, and that often leads to the obsession that really pulls you out of yourself. And you cannot really feel anymore who you are because you identify yourself so much with what you want and what you cannot have or what is not there yet. So surrendering also means to detach your, let's say, ego self, who just has this one idea in mind, which it feels like, well, if I don't have what I want, I'm nothing, or I will never be happy, and to bring yourself back into your own confines, really feeling more yourself, being able to realize, who am I if I don't really have that goal reached? Who am I if I don't really have what I want? And that can be extremely freeing, because at the end you realize, wow, I have really thought I'm nothing without this, or I have thought I'm less without this. I have a client who was losing his job, and he couldn't find a job for quite some time. And he was devastated because he really felt like, well, this was my career. I was in school for a long time. My family was looking up to me. I'm the breadwinner, yada, 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 all those things we know. And but after a while, he realized, as he accepted and detached from this identity, he realized that, I actually still breathe. I still walk. I still can smell the flowers and do the garden. I still have a life. I'm still alive. I am someone even without that job. And that gave him so much freedom that it was life-changing, because no matter what happened afterwards, he did not ever attach himself so, strongly, like super glue, holding on to something outside of himself as he used to. He always was able to feel himself as a priority, not in a, egoistic way, but in a way that was very much about, that taking care of his own integrity, being able to listen to his own voice and knowing what's right for him and what's not. So that all happened through this surrendering that he went through. And another advantage of the surrendering is this sense of, once you take a break, as I mentioned, you can actually make better decisions afterwards. And, when I was hiking with Danielle, my wife, at the beginning of our relationship, I had in my mind that I will never go the same way back. I will find the path at all costs. And we were hiking a lot. And one day we were hiking in an area that I really didn't know very well, but I was pretty sure that I can read a map and I can find this path. And at some point we were finding ourselves really like at a very, very steep hill, and we had to climb up, and there was no way that this was the hiking trail. But stubborn me, I said, no, we are not tracing our steps back. We are just keeping on going. I'm sure we're going to make it. Well, until Danielle finally started telling me that I'm obviously intending to kill her, I wasn't willing to let go. So I had to surrender and say, yes, this is the first time in my life that I'm actually willing to admit I'm wrong. I don't find the right trail. Let's go back. And probably it did, do as good. I don't know if it would have killed us, but it would have not been a good idea just to keep on going up this mountain to nowhere. And I noticed that it was also really a liberating experience to go into this sense of, it's okay to have a course correction. It's okay to say that things are not working out the way I wanted them, and let's go just backwards and see if there is another path, or maybe the right path will be around the corner. And those things, the detachment, the course correction, making a break, and acceptance, these are these ingredients that ultimately bring us back to our own authentic humility and our own authentic self. A friend of mine who has been really attached to going to this certain school that he felt like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to help people. I'm going to learn, how to be a healer. Well, it turned out that the school was teaching something that he actually didn't believe in. And he felt like, this is really against who I am as a person. Well, he didn't want to admit that he actually probably would do better to just quit and find another path. So he kept on going. And it caused him tremendous stress and tremendous agony, to the point that he actually got ill, that he got an inflammatory bowel disease that he really was suffering from. And he lost a lot of weight. And finally he realized, what I have been doing to myself is I have been not able to realize my own roles I was playing, the role of, you stick with it no matter what, you make a decision and that's that. You cannot admit that you did something wrong, or that you were maybe wrong in your decision. And that form of of not really being willing to surrender was a role he picked up from his parents and from society and this boys' school that he was in, and when he was in high school. And his authentic self was completely different. His authentic self was a self that also was much more tuned into what felt right and what is the right path. And he just lost that connection with that. And again, just like with this client of mine about the promotion, letting go and admitting this is not working and finding himself back connected to that authentic self through surrendering was, I believe, for him really one huge step forward on his healing path. Because I think either our emotions or our body, they tell us when we are on the wrong track. They tell us when there is something that we are pursuing that may not be worthwhile pursuing. Now, there is a question that Jim was writing, and he asked, so how do we know the difference when to fight and when to let go? Well, and I think that is really what this awareness that surrendering can bring to us, gives us, to find exactly that difference, that wisdom in knowing when to fight and when to let go. So when you are in a pursuit of a goal, and having goals is important, and really going for something that you truly desire is what a big part of life is about. But when you notice that there is more and more a friction happening inside of you, when you notice that there is just this resistance, like as I said before, the swimming upstream, everything seems to be hard, everything seems to be complicated. I certainly had my fair share of relationships where this was the case, where you really will try hard to make the person love you or accept you, and it's not happening. There's just always that feeling of a wall that you don't get through, and you can try to do whatever you want, you don't get there. And if you then start by having this resistance in your life to obsess about it, and you're noticing that you're more and more losing your own footing, your connection to yourself, because that's what you're pursuing becomes more important than who you really are. And if you're then feeling like, well, actually, I don't really know who I am anymore because I'm feeling, maybe very insecure. I feel like I have no value, I have no worthiness unless I really get what I want. And if you then finally realize that this is a very draining and unrewarding endeavor to pursue, and that you miss something, you miss the peace inside of you, you miss that sense of contentment, you miss the moments where you just simply appreciate yourself, then it is time to let go of this fighting and surrender, and simply surrender to it's not meant to be, or surrender to you have been trying too hard and maybe this was not the right way or the right person. And maybe also surrender to making peace with yourself and your life, and trusting, just like I have seen this many times in my life and also in other people's life, trusting that when there is a resistance, there is a good reason for this resistance, because it is not the right path. And when you let go and let yourself flow a little bit more downstream because you have surrendered, life carries you to something that may be much better and maybe much more in alignment with who you are than that what the little ego mind has thought is a worthwhile pursuit. Well, we'll talk more about steps how to surrender and the joy of surrendering, and then this guided meditation afterwards. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, Dr. Friedemann here. Thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more about fear and anxiety, Here you'll find guided meditations, webinars, and interviews with some of the most renowned experts in the field of empowerment. Delve into the over 230 videos and more to come every week.